This question is, my one son is a dreamer. He runs for toys that allow him to lose himself in a fantasy, but he's getting to the point where he wants real-world wins. But he always falls into this fantasy thinking, which distracts from learning anything. Also, how do you handle a daydreamer during group subjects, where other siblings are all too eager to jump in with the correct narration or details when your daydreamer keeps giving far-out answers or inexact narrations? When you have a child who is a dreamer, you want to encourage his creativity, not stifle it, but you want to help him make that creative mind an asset rather than a liability. That will require helping him learn to control his thoughts. Charlotte talked about children who are at the mercy of mental associations. Something that is read reminds them of something else, and instantly their minds go down that rabbit trail. It can be very distracting. So he needs help controlling those thoughts. And the key is going to be his will. Charlotte likened a person's will to a gatekeeper. Imagine that your mind is a gate where ideas present themselves for entrance. The will is the gatekeeper. He decides whether to allow an idea into the mind or reject it. It seems like in your son's case, he would benefit from learning how to, as an act of his will, direct certain ideas to a waiting room to be entertained later. He doesn't necessarily need to reject those ideas completely, but he does need to learn how to set them aside until an appropriate time. How can you help him do that? Well, habits will help relieve him of that effort at first. A habit can supplement and shore up a weak will until eventually he gains strength to do that mental traffic directing on his own. One way to help him practice and gain that mental habit is going to be with the narrations. Here's how you can make those a tool. Before you read, scan the passage and pull out 2 or 3 key words. They might be names, they might be actions, whatever. List them on a small whiteboard or sheet of paper. Show those words when you introduce the reading for the day. And tell the children to listen carefully, especially for those key words, and to make sure they include them in their narration. Leave the list up there while you read and while they narrate. It will give them mental hooks to hang their narration on and help them know which mental paths should be the focus right now. Let your son know that he will be required to give a factual narration first using those key words, but that he will be allowed to share his more creative ideas in the discussion time after the narrations. That way he knows he'll have an opportunity to explore those ideas, but when it is appropriate. Keep the reading short at first, so he won't have to direct too much mental traffic at a time, and it won't be too long of a wait before he can explore and discuss those creative ideas. As he gains experience and success in controlling his thoughts, you can gradually lengthen the readings and the time that he has to wait before sharing those creative waiting ideas. The goal is that little by little, eventually, he will be able to put those creative ideas on hold until an appropriate time to explore them, and they won't interfere with his ability to learn in the real world. I don't know how old your son is, but if he is old enough, and by that I mean probably older than 10, you might explain to him about the will as the gatekeeper of his mind and how it directs the mental traffic. That if he practices, he will be able to make himself pay attention to what he should as an act of his will, but still keep the creative ideas available for an appropriate time.